Okay, Year 9, just a quick run through for you of how graph interpretation works for rate graphs, because you can be presented with these graphs in the exam and they'll expect you to know what each curve shows or to draw the curve from the information, which is what you're going to practice on the worksheet today. So if you have a little look, this experiment, we are clearly measuring the volume of gas produced against time so that we can work out the rate. And our blue line is our smaller marble chips and our pink line is our larger marble chips. So how do we know that the blue line is the small ones and the pink one is the large ones? We look at the gradient at the beginning, so down in this region by the 0. The blue line is much steeper, and like we did last lesson, we know that the steeper the gradient of the line, the higher the rate of reaction is going to be. So our smaller surface area, a larger surface area, smaller chips, is going to be the steeper line, and our large chips, smaller surface area, is going to be our pink line. What else can we tell from this graph? Well, we can tell up at this end here that the experimenter used the same amount of marble chips because the end, they level out at the same amount, the same volume. So there must have been exactly the same amount of chemical in the reaction. Okay, different graph to look at now. This one we've changed the concentration of the chemicals. So we're still measuring the volume of gas produced. The lines are still going upwards, but we've got 3 different lines here, 2 at low concentration and 1 at high concentration. So what can we tell from this graph? Well, we can tell that the pink and orange lines are the same concentration because their gradient at the beginning in this section is the same, whereas the green line is much steeper, so it must be a much higher concentration. We can also tell, again, that the pink and the green line must have the same amount of chemical in them because they're ending at the same point. Now, because we know the pink line is at our lower concentration, it's half the concentration of the green line, there must be double the amount, volume, of that pink chemical for it to give the same amount of volume of gas produced as the higher concentration, because you need double the volume to get the same number of particles from the lower concentration. We can also tell that the orange line was half the volume of the pink line because it's leveling out halfway up the graph compared to where the pink line levels out. So we know that that would be the 50 centimeters of our lower concentration. Final type of graph you could look at. Note that this one, the lines are going down the graph. This is because we're measuring a change in mass. So we're measuring the loss of reactant rather than the amount of product being made, like the gases. The lines are coming downwards. In this one, we've got a low temperature and a high temperature, and you should be able to work it now. We can tell that the lower temperature is the blue line because it's a less steep gradient, and that the orange is our higher temperature because we've got a more steep gradient at the beginning. You should also be able to tell that we've got the same amount of chemical again because the orange and the blue line are leveling out at the same level.